Okay, sorry about that. We are just getting back from a very long hiatus with all this political action going on in the world. And what has happened? Where was I? Basically, I was at the ends of the earth, communication-wise. I'm definitely not at the end of the earth. I'm at the end of the road, definitely where the location that I'm at. So I'm very hard to find for people who have never been here before. So I am at the end. I call this the end of the world. Even when you use a GPS and you have the address, the GPS isn't bringing you to where I'm at. So perfect hideaway. But in any case, we also had a communication. We were in a communication desert. Very little. I could receive. I could watch you all doing your things, but I couldn't broadcast. So now I can. That's why I'm here. So through the power of modern technologies and some assistance, we are able to once again broadcast. And again, the things that I see is that we're broadcasting now for a reason. I mean, I was in a hiatus for a while. Things were going on, everything was going down, and the way it went, whatever. I did give you all a warning, those who have been following us for a while. But everything worked out, In either case, what I said happened, and so it is what it is. And for some reason, I was out of communication. When I say that, I know why. I mean, it's understandable. But I look at things also in another perspective in terms of what God is allowing to happen at certain times. He opens doors and he closes them. And in our case, he closed the door for a while, for a period, a season, as it's called. And I still maintain my church's teachings through uploading videos. I could do that, not from the studio, but by traveling a bit to civilization. I was able to maintain at minimum, the Sunday teachings going out to the congregation and those who are interested. But now I can do these live without any delay to some quality or another. This is, again, as we're going through the different broadcast outlets that I have had developed. We still need to reset things. So that is why we had some technical issue getting started with this broadcast today. And we still are not connected now with Facebook. So Facebook is having some issue, at least the software is having issue connecting with Facebook. So we'll do another test separately just for Facebook. Probably do a replay of this on Facebook. Anyway, let's get going with today. Today we're going to examine Donald Trump. Issues around Donald Trump. And I know a lot of you are, this is not going to be your typical. I'm going to use an article on MSN. So we're going to deal a little bit about the future of the United States of America and in relation to the phenomena. How can we describe it? The phenomena of Donald Trump. And so that's what we're going to be looking at in today's broadcast. So let's go right there. Let me just put certain things away. Let's go into the article here at MSN. If I can find it now. Where are you? MSN. Where are you? Here you go. Okay, bravo. So let's go to that screen. Let's see if that works. No, that's not set. Oh, yes, it is working. And we'll see where we're at. This is desktop audio. There should not be anything called desktop audio for now. Okay, so what we have here is an article. Let's look at this here. It says live update. Supreme Court rules on birthright citizenship and other major cases. The Supreme Court on Friday ruled that nationwide injunctions that have blocked President Donald Trump's ban on birthright citizenship probably exceed the authority Congress has given the federal courts, a decision that will have major implications for judicial power. It's the way these articles are written that's it's fascinating, and it's a lot. You see this a lot in media. It's part of the problem that media has, or that we have with the media. And I wanted to impress upon you today in this broadcast. Have you noticed? I mean, is anyone really noticing what the media is doing? And what many of you are interpreting as the news. And I know you've been watching developments over time where the news is later debunked by the facts. And the question is America being honest with itself? I mean, are you guys being honest? Or are you ignoring the facts simply to follow or to uphold your belief? So are we fact-based? Or are we belief-based? And I think that's a valid question in light of the political environment that has been simmering and getting to the boil in recent history. Why is it that when these pundits are shown to be wrong, we just go on to you guys just go on to the next point? It's like you're trying to fill a bag, and that bag says on it is Donald Trump sucks. Donald Trump is evil. Donald Trump is the devil incarnate. Right? So you have this bag of whatever it is that you have in your head. And no matter what, you just keep stuffing it. You want to have something, so you stuff it. And anything that comes out the pipeline or the rear end of whatever, the donkey's ass, you keep shoving it in. And you keep shoving it in. Why is that? Because the bag keeps emptying out. Why is it emptying out? When will your bag be full? Of course, it can never be full because you're stuffing it with air, hot air. And you have to keep stuffing it because you're not going by the facts. You're going by belief. What others believe, what you want to believe. And I hear a lot of Democrats also saying, I don't know the answer. Well, then, you don't know the answer, but it can't be Donald Trump. It's like, I've seen this in children. If you guys are in education at all, you have children of your own at all, you'll see that some children, you have the answer right in their face. Their face, they have the answer, but they're choosing the others almost to a T, to a preciseness beyond belief, choosing the wrong answers because it can't be that one. It just can't be that one. It just doesn't look right. And this is where, this is what I see that the left does. The obvious answer here is Donald J. Trump. But you don't want it. You just don't, you can't believe that he's right, or that he has an answer, or that he even has an alternative that may work. It may work, especially if you don't know what will. So again, when it comes down, it boils down to this. Throughout the American history, we either had one party or we had the other. And the founders found it reasoned and intelligent to limit the term of the president and many others, but particularly we're speaking now of the presidency, to limit the term so that there's not a permanency, a control, overbearing control or influence by one part of the country, because the presidents are duly elected by the population. In the way representative government is what it is. You have the college of the electoral college that actually decides, but they're going by the results, by the results of their local elections. And that term limit is set to foster balance. That's your balance there. It's in the electoral process. There really is no need to go ape nutty about, Donald J. Trump, because he can only be president for the next 3.5 years, and now to many an eternity, I'm sure. But it really isn't. You'll get over this. I have lived through, what is it now? 15, 16, 17, 16 to 17 presidencies. Right? Am I right? Or is that too much? I've been alive. I was born in 1963. When they shot Kennedy, I was born. I'm the gift to the world. Hello! John F. Kennedy was shot. I came in. God sent me here in his stead. So, since Kennedy, I have been alive. And the country has been here since that, and since before that, way before that, and we're still here. We've had Republican presidents, we've had Democrat presidents, we've had, thieves in my lifetime was Nixon is the most famous criminal president, in my lifetime of them all. Some presidents, as I hear, were sleazebags, their personal life. I'm not here to judge someone. The president is the president. As I grew up, the president is the president, period. Simple as that. You don't like that they may like mint tea. I like coffee. I don't have to agree. They don't have to be just like me. They're just going to be president for 4, and if they're halfway good at it, maybe another 4 years after, and then that's it. We have a chance to get someone else, see what they can do, right? For 4, and we don't like it, we change it after 4, right? So again, it's ridiculous having all of this emotional outbursts at something that is a mainstay in the American electoral process and in our history. It's just founded on the Constitution. That's what we're about. If you think a president is a piece of garbage, you have to smell the garbage for the next 4 years. It's as simple as that, because I have had to do it in my lifetime, and I didn't go ape crazy out there in the streets. I put up with it. I put up with a president in the last 4 years which was asleep at the helm. He was too old. I mean, not that age has to do with it, but with age there are certain cognitive issues, and individually it affects some more than others, right? So it's an individual thing. Some people get gray hair before other people get gray hair. So it's not age, it's how age is showing and impacting a person. And Biden obviously was having, challenges. That's all. It's not a... What was my suggestion? Don't vote for Biden. That was my suggestion. He needs to rest. He needs to go home. And then you look at all of these issues that come out from a person who is unable to be alert and sharp and sign his own name, and important things. Okay, again, I'm not trying to. I'm just being real. So let's get real here. Let's stop being silly. You want a president. You have a president of a company. You want someone who knows what the hell they're doing, who's awake, not someone that sits there in a chair and falls asleep while the executive meeting's going on. So, and it's not this issue that he traveled to wherever he traveled. You got jet lag. There's a difference. You leave here in the daytime, you're getting someplace else without sleeping. In the daytime, so you have 2 full days going. I've been there. I've had a print shop, and I had to stay up all night to get a job done, and be awake the next day to do that day's. Attend to the office that day. I've been there, so I know how that is. And I was young. Here with Biden, he was old. Come on. So stop the silly nonsense. It's silly nonsense. And in fact, what it caused was another 4 years for Trump. That's all it did. It was extend Trumpism now for 12 years. That's all it did. You guys have been anti-Trumping, think about it, anti-Trumping for 12 years plus, right? That's a lot. Yeah. And now if you still don't understand that, realize the recent protests, right, that occurred. And let's see if I can drum up an article there for us, just to reflect on that a little bit. Let's look into that. You had the recent No King protests, right? You remember that? No King protests. Where is the sanity in that? In these United States, there is none. It was really nonsense. But it makes sense if, let me just look for No King and see what pops up here. But it makes sense when you realize that Donald Trump has been sitting on the brain of many people for over 12 years. It does look, it will begin to appear as a dictatorship, because you have been living with Trump in your brain, living for free, as some people would say, for over 12 years. Not because Donald J. Trump did anything. is because y'all are doing it. You're following some Democrat campaign conspiracy, and you're being impacted by this thought process that makes you now think you have been living under a dictatorship, not for a few months, which in actuality you've only had the Trump presidency now for just 5 months. And we have already no king protest. The no king protest is simply a summation, a result of the overwhelming anti-Trump rhetoric that the left has been swallowing for over 12 years. I understand that. But you guys aren't understanding that. Over 12 years, anti-Trumpism, and you want no king because he represents in your mind a king. He's been there. No one's able to topple him. He has not been able to be removed from his throne. That is the mentality that's in the United States by a large degree. It is unfortunate. Really. It's almost delirious. It's just a president duly elected serving his second term, which the Constitution does allow. And the issue here is what the left should be really focusing on, not that they're not, some of them aren't, some are, but this whole, all these movements and protests and all of that, it does not help with getting a Democrat or someone else elected in the next election for president. You guys aren't. Again, you're doing the wrong thing. You're focusing on the wrong thing. And what's going to happen is that instead of you gaining some footing for a left-leaning president in the next election, you're going to continue this tirade against a president that is going out. What happened with Kamala? Let's talk. Come on. I wasn't online to help you guys work through this Kamala business. You did it to Kamala. It's not. You made Kamala fail. The left made Kamala fail because you spent your time, and she did it too. It wasn't that she didn't do it. She was duped by the mentality as well. Because the moment she answered the question with it's Trump, we can't have Trump. The moment she said that anti-Trump sentiment, instead of presenting her policy, she lost the election. She lost it. Trump automatically won because all of you are giving Trump support by being against him. Believe it or not. Just look at it. Look at all the anti-Trump sentiment and how did that work out for you? Because the problem is not that you just have an anti-Trump sentiment. See, that's all you're looking at. You're looking at the anti-Trump sentiment. But what's holding the sentiment up? What is it that your side, your opposite, the left, is bringing in or bringing to the table in support of the anti-Trump sentiment? Lies, Russia hoaxes, conspiracies that the left has created and fostered to have something against Trump in hopes of getting him in jail. Oh, he's going to jail. You can't vote him. He's going to jail. On what? And the funny thing about Trump, you guys were done from the beginning because his name is Trump. You're going to laugh at that, but they were trumped up charges. Don't you see that even in the English language, Trump, his name means that he's going to win. You see, now that's not what people are thinking. You just go, he's just another guy. That was how you fooled yourself. Trump always had the Trump card. And I make an emphasis on this so you realize how much you had to ignore the automatic promotion of Trump just in our English language and culture alone. And you had to just BS. And the problem with BSing, like one of the big BSs that you guys have, he's not a businessman, he's a failure. That's BS. He's this or he's that. He's not successful. BS. And then you guys are protesting in front of his unsuccessful Trump Towers. And then you're criticizing that he goes to his one of many golf courses he has around the world and he's unsuccessful. Well, what the hell is your golf course? I mean, what is in your thinking process that you're going to bullshit so much that you discredit your own posit? You guys are digging your own graves. And the first person you buried in it was Biden, and then Kamala. Both of them. Usually you could put 3 people in the same plot in the cemetery, but you guys done with 2. Who's going to be the third one? I would wonder if you guys don't stop this silly ridiculousness and start focusing on propping up the new candidate. Who is it? Because I still don't see any. You guys are wasting time. You're wasting time. Forget Trump. Move on. Yes, just silly. Just silly. And again, there's little things. I say little, but in the scope of it all, they're little. But I know that there are important things that you guys are angry about. And I'm not saying you don't have anger about. There's things that Trump, I have personally better ways of handling than Trump has. I have ideas here. I got solutions that would make Democrats very happy, immigrants very happy, and Republicans very happy too, right? That Donald Trump isn't doing, and I'm surprised because this would be something really up Donald Trump's alley. But obviously, there's a break here in the country, and that's why I entitled this video "The Future of America, what it's going to be like." Because as long as the left, you guys somebody is fanning a flame, and you guys are the thing. To have a flame, something has to be consumed, and all that's left after the consumption are ashes. So you guys, a lot of you are the future ashes that will be after all the flame is done. And you have to understand that all you guys are doing are flaming a fire that's going to get, you're going to end up as the other smart pants in your posit, though the elitist in your side on the left, they'll just get more wood. They'll get more burning material to throw on the fire. And that's usually comes in the form of young people, because the young people have energy and they have rebellious tendencies. That's number one. On that, they are very prone to get out there in the street and make their voices heard, and let's hang out all night, let's burn some fires. That's not something that an older person would be readily going to do, although there's some that are young at heart, but it's not really a sport for older people. But the other thing that comes with youth is naivete. And that means that you don't know everything. You think you do. You think you have a grasp, but you really don't, because there are certain things that take time to come to realize. All right? So you have to also be self-analytical. A young person has to check themselves. I say, okay, I think I know that. I'm pretty sure that I'm right. But I have to check myself, because I have, as being a young person, the tendency to think I know it all when I don't. I can't possibly, because I haven't lived long enough. Right? So you haven't lived long enough to know more than you do now. So there's no way a 20-year-old will know more than a 60-year-old. Okay? And so that's why you have the differences in political views, oftentimes. Between the young folks and the older population. All right, so anyway, that being said, the fact still remains that sense is still sense. And it makes no sense that you don't have an answer or solution, but that you don't. It's not Donald Trump. That makes no sense at all. And then no one. See, because I have the solution to the immigration problem. I'm going to discuss this in a different video. I'm not going to do it here. But I have a solution that's perfect. Perfecto, okay? And neither Democrats nor Republican or anyone, all these other liberals and in-betweens and fall through the crack groups, none of them have even thought of my idea that will solve all of the problems for everyone and satisfy everyone. Not one. Okay? So I'm not propping myself as a genius here. But I'm just making the point that in the political arena, people haven't come up with this idea simply because they're too politicized. The politics is what's blinding the folks. Blind leading the blind. It's politics. Because it's just simply vote Democratic. Simple. Right? And the Republicans have their group that is vote Republican. Vote Republican. No one says vote sense. Right? Because there's now those who say vote common sense, now that's being political. How so? It should be common sense, but there is no common sense. That's why. There's no such thing as common sense. And the person that uses that, they say, hey, you have to have common sense. That is, the person is either stupid, repeating, parroting what they've heard. It's originally used by someone who knows in order to manipulate the masses. They use terms like common sense. You hear that from a politician or from a political stance, you know that someone is trying to fool you. Automatically, someone is trying to manipulate. The other manipulation they use is vote you for your benefit. Vote the way that benefits you. See? That's also manipulation, because the truth doesn't always benefit you. There's a saying that says the truth hurts. And and for you to have the truth in politics, you're going to have to vote for something that hurts you, because that's the way it is. The truth hurts, so then the right president's going to hurt, who's going to correct issues, correct problems from the years and years of people voting for their benefit instead of voting for the Constitution of the United States of America, voting for the bright and prosperous future of the United States. You have too many people voting for the bread and cheese, and government bread and cheese at that. What they want, their benefit. But the true benefit, listen, the greatness of America isn't bread and cheese, not government bread and cheese. That's not the American dream. What made America great was entrepreneurism. Building business, contributing your skills to an enterprise, and making, earning a living, and buying a home and having land, whatever. This is the American dream. That's what America is about. It isn't about standing in a line to get cheese. So the question is, do we want an America that is communist, socialist, that everyone then goes to the line? Because, hey, listen, you got to look at how Cuba does it. Cuba, you have a certain day of the week that you go and get bread. And then you're limited to one or two, depending, I guess, on how many people you have in the family. It's usually just one loaf of bread. That's the way it works in Cuba. And guess what? Everyone has a loaf of bread. Everyone gets a loaf of bread. Right? Isn't that nice? Everybody gets the same thing. So where's the incentive to do anything, to make the country great? Because that's why Cuba is over there. It's still an island. They're doing nothing. They're just trying to survive. That's the result. That's the result. You have an America that can do great things now, yes, because you're using all the resources from all the capitalism that have been the supreme reigning philosophy here since its inception. Of course we have the money to give everyone bread and give everyone cheese. But then after we have extinguished that money, where is the bread and cheese going to come from? So this is and then what the Democrats are going to say, what they always do. We don't know. We don't know what the answer is. Well, I prefer to know the answer, to research the answer, and to vote for people who have answers and have solutions that are reasoned. And so that is the difference. So what's going to be the future of the United States? That's a big question there. The bombing in Iran at least has brought us some more time. But if the left wins significantly, for whatever reason in the future, what's going to be on their radars to dismantle the recovery process that Trump has initiated. Trump will be credited. You guys like it or not, Trump will be credited with, and by the way, those who are trying to chat with me, I haven't set up the chats yet, so it's just a monologue. I appreciate you taking the time to chat or type something in. I appreciate that. All I can tell you is to follow, subscribe, whatever it is. Stay awake at night looking to see if I broadcast, whatever you have to do. But that's all I can do for you right now. I'll get the chats ready. It's a lot of details here that I'm still working out. So anyway, what Trump is doing right now, he's setting it up. He will be remembered throughout history as the president that reset the United States. Between him and the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, again, you guys look at the Supreme Court as it's a political thing. It is not. Don't look at it that way. Yes, there are conservative judges, but that's simply the way they look at things. It's not the way they vote or the way they, that they're Republican in mentality. They're Republican only because the Republican Party, to a great degree, may be commensurate with the way they think things. But they are their own thinkers, simply. Right? Just like the liberal judges, I don't look at them any different. They have a liberal way of interpreting what they read, the law. And so they will have a liberal way, and some of them may have very liberal ways. Right? So again, that's why there's a balance. And why is it? Because people are immature. That's why. People will tend to go by their belief system, not what the truth of the matter is. They're not reading the law by the letter and said the law says this and this is what it means. No one is doing that, right? That takes a very high intellect. Almost a computer would be able to do that to some degree. Which one is more weightier, and then it will make a decision. It's not a Republican, and it wouldn't be liberal. But people don't think that way. People always go to their to what their leanings are, and they would think, oh, if I vote this way, which would be the bland way, the straightforward way to interpret this law, that would be viewed as a conservative viewpoint. See, that's what people do, and some of these judges do that. A lot of judges do that, but some of the Supreme Court may be doing that. I'm not going to judge them. They're judges. Let them judge themselves and help themselves. Right? Physician, heal thyself. But I do know that a lot of the other judges, district judges, and all on the crowd putting injunctions on Trump and all that, is obvious, isn't it? It's not. These are not. That's why you say, why don't these MAGA people, believe these judges? Because the judges are deciding, and politically, they're not making decisions on the law. They're adding their 2 cents. And that's why they're overreaching. And you see here, let's go to the article again. It's not me. The Supreme Court says that the Supreme judges are saying that about the lower court judges. When a court concludes that the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power too. So the Supreme Court, the Supreme judges are saying that the lower court judges have exceeded their power. And what has caused these judges that are supposed to be impartial to exceed the power is their belief system. That's what. Because they believe that this, the executive branch shouldn't be able to do this. No, they are disregarding, the left's perspective, which I also share. It cannot be that King Donald Trump has this audacity to do this and overstep what we believe. That is what these judges are doing. And the Supreme Court has said with this ruling that they can't do that, regardless if they think the executive branch has exceeded its authority. That's not their job. You know whose job it is? It is the Supreme Court's job. So that's why and it's nice the way they put it, right? You see how the Supreme Court, hey, you have no business making that decision. It's only our decision. They didn't say it that way. With a lot of respect and a lot of, propriety, they said that you cannot exceed your power because you feel that the executive branch has exceeded its power. It's a nice way to say, get out of our business. That's not your business. That is for the Supreme Court to decide. Thank you. Goodbye now. That's what happened here, in plain English. All right, so, again, then you have the three Justices Sonia Sotomayor. That's the way you say her name. She's Spanish, the Spanish name, Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented. Why did they dissent? Why did they dissent? Because they think that these lower courts should do their job? They dissented because they agree that they agree politically with it, the political spirit of it, not the legal aspect of it. The Supreme Court has rightly said that those lower court judges have exceeded their authority. That shouldn't be, there should be no disagreement here. This shows you to what extreme the political beliefs have contaminated jurisprudence, the judicial impartiality. This is why people can't believe in the courts any longer, because they can see that they are given to their personal beliefs instead of the law itself and the Constitution, the separation of powers. And that's why the people begin to lose faith in the government. Now you have, and that's a conservative view. But then the liberal view, what is that? The liberal don't care. They just care about their own posit, period. It's not about what the law says, it's about what we interpret it to be. That's where the liberal side of it is. That's where Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson are mentally in their jurisprudence. And how did they get that way? Harvard. The universities have politicized education. It has become not education but indoctrination. And since people are not scrupulous in their cognitive ability, they have allowed themselves to be persuaded, convinced to have their belief system in the way they have it. So we have many people, and you know the types. What are they? Non-profit executives. These people, when they go to college, they get indoctrinated on the socialist. This is a socialist. Social, and social means socialism. So they get taught by socialist professors. I'm not just talking out of my mouth here. I went to college. I know. I saw it. I saw the development of the Black African department. What did they call it? African Studies. I saw it. It started when I was in college, so I can see what was going on. And I saw and I heard the professors do their spiel. So I saw the start of all of this, anti-slavery. In terms of the history, there's a complete destruction of the actual history, not of, it includes the word slavery, because when you say slavery, it automatically you're thinking about one thing. No one thinks about the original slavery. Do you know what the original slavery was? Right? If you go to somebody, ask them, how did slavery begin? What is slavery? How did it begin? And they will not know. Because all they know about slavery is all the recent slavery, the mistreatment of slaves, the whipping, the lynching, and all. But that's not the original slavery. That's not how slavery began. So, but you never get that education today in school, because they only show you about the slave trade and all the negative issues of slavery, which obviously, if you're looking at that epoch, at that period of time, of course. But if you're not teaching the development of human civilization and the role that slavery had, the real slavery, the good slavery, or you didn't know there was a good slavery? It was a necessary process. As a matter of fact, there's still slavery today. And everybody is okay with it. You know what it's called, right? It's called a job, you idiot. You work for somebody else. You're a slave. That's the way slaves began. Farm. You grew your own food. And at best, you traded carrots for some meat, for a chicken, so that you could have some chicken soup. That was the original state of human development. And then obviously things happen. Your barn burned down. All the chickens are lost. Now you need $20,000. I'm making up these figures, but it was impossible for you to be able to afford to rebuild. And you needed some money. You had to pay this. You had to pay that. So then, listen, let me go work for the neighbor. Let me go, listen, I have this issue. I'll work for you X amount of time for X amount of dollars. Can you do that? And they say, sure, come on. You start work and I'll give you the money and I'll even go over there and help you build on Saturdays over there. That's the way it started. And we still do it today with jobs. That's why you get money for your time. Okay? It went through a bad period, a bad time, which always greedy people will make that happen, of course. People get the wrong idea. That's the problem. It's a human problem. But that's not how slavery began. Slavery was a necessary thing. Okay? Not the bad one, but the original first one. And it still is today, but we just don't call it slavery anymore, right? We call it a job. It's employment. And that's that. So it was a step in that direction. All right, that's it for today. I spoke enough. Take care. Keep watching us. Subscribe. Attach your computer to this URL. Put on the alarm clock for whenever I'm on. I can't tell you when, but thanks for watching, and get notified. Get notified of the next broadcast. Take care. We have different topics, not just VPM. Do a lot of different things, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.